Hi, welcome back. In my previous two videos I showed you how I get started on a new track from scratch in Ableton Live, and in this video I figured I'll try to show you how I take that short loop and make it into something that resembles a track. If you're interested in watching the first two videos before you watch this one, I'll make sure to link to both of them down in the description. But if you already watched those, feel free to tag along on this one to see how I generally progress when I work this way. So right now we have an 8-bar loop. It's a total of 16 seconds long. So, and everything is just piled on top of each other at this point. So it's a bit hard to judge what we have here. So the next step now is taking those 16 seconds and trying to space it out over something like 5 minutes maybe, which is generally what my tracks often end up being. Anywhere between 4.5 minutes and 7 minutes if I'm feeling particularly epic. So I'm gonna try and show you how I generally do that. If you're new to the channel, my goal with this channel is to show you how you can make music without tons of gear, tons of time, and sort of juggle it with your regular life, family obligations and day jobs and so on. So feel free to subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. Okay, what do we have here? I'm just gonna play back what we have in case you don't remember or in case you haven't watched the first video. That's it. We have an 8-bar loop. What I generally like to do is, when I work this way, is basically just mark all the clips. Before we get into that, you can see over here what we have. We have a kick, we have a clap, we have some hats and a shaker, and a few toms. We have a bass line, some chord stabs, a pad, 2 different melodies, or rather 3 melodies, as this arpeggio down here is also a melody, and we have some sort of texture thing which I got from running some of the percussion through this pedal over here, this microcosm thing. Let's get into this. Just gonna mark all of them and just hit Command D and basically duplicate the whole thing until we're at something like 5 minutes is okay, 5-10 is okay. Okay, that doesn't by itself make it any more interesting, but a good way to get going on the arrangement is just taking stuff out, removing stuff from the various parts. And what I'm doing now is not making a finished track. I'm basically just making something that my future self can listen back to and continue working on. So at this point too, I'm trying to work reasonably quick. What I'll generally do when I do this is I do all of these 3 first videos I'll be doing generally in one session if I have the time. It usually doesn't take me more than an hour. Obviously talking through the whole thing that means it takes me a bit longer this time, but yeah, you can work quite quickly when you do it like this. So before I start listening to anything, I know that the first 8 bars is just gonna be the drums, and I know that I like to keep the clap or the snare drum out of it, so I'm just gonna delete that for now. You can just mark. What I did now was just marking this by clicking on it and hitting the backspace key on the keyboard. I'm also gonna hold back on the shaker a bit. Not sure about the toms. I know that I want the bass line to come in a bit later. These chord stabs might possibly go from the beginning. We'll have a listen. This pad thing, I'm just gonna delete the first, 32 bars of that. I don't want any melodies come in the intro, so I'm just gonna delete all of this as well. So I'm gonna loop this first bar now by hitting this icon up here, or you can also do it by clicking on it and hitting Command L. Oops, turn it off now. Now it's on. Okay. We have something that sounds a bit more like an intro. That's okay. Let's move on to the next one. Yeah, that's the clap coming in. And one important thing when you work like this is don't try to make it perfect at this point. You just want to make something that you can listen back to later. And you can switch things up later and move stuff around and take stuff in and out. So at this point it's just about getting a first arrangement down. Gonna leave the shaker out a bit longer as well. And to be honest, I can't even remember what these melodies are. So we'll have to listen to those when we get to them. But first I want to bring the bass line in. I'm going to take the kick out here for a bit to create some tension. I'm going to hold the shaker back a bit longer. And then we have to figure out which of these melodies we want to bring in first. Not all of them, I'm just going to mute these two. Yeah, that's fine. Here, another clap, maybe even the hat. That brought a pad in. That wasn't intentional, but I think I'm going to keep it. But I kind of want the pad to move a bit more. So I'm going to add this plugin by... can't remember make it. It's called Track Spacer. It's basically a thing that ducks the, in this case, the pad. So if I just solder the pad now, and I go down here and choose the input, it's sidechain ducking basically. So if I just kick and choose the kick on the sidechain input here, it will duck the pad a bit whenever the kick hits. It's a bit extreme, so I'm just going to do it a little bit more subtle. And I mainly want it to affect the low frequencies, so I'm just going to do a high cut on it as well. Okay, how does that sound? And this melody has been playing for long enough now, so I'm just going to take it out again, because if you let stuff play for too long, it might get a bit tiring after a while. Just going to remove this as well, the hi-hats. I'm going to try to bring in one of the other melodies. With this one, the second part of the track, or at least a bit longer. Okay, let's listen to this transition now. No, I think I did wrong. No. Actually, I'm going to bring the hats in and not the shaker. Know that I don't want this pad to be playing for like forever, so I'm just going to move it over here now. Now I think it's a good time to bring that shaker in. Actually, I'm going to fade it in. Just hit the F key, and these little things will pop up, and you can drag a fade. And then it will slowly fade in. Let's see how this sounds if I just remove the pad and let the two original melodies play. I think I'm gonna just pan this left and right. Might be too busy, I don't know. Let's see. And remove the claps again. And possibly the hats. Make a little breakdown or whatever here. Take out most of the percussion, maybe even the toms. And after the break, I can bring the pad back in, but take these melodies out for a bit, at least for 16 bars. And I don't want all of this to come back in at once, so let's leave the shaker out, fade in the hi-hats, the toms can come straight in, and let's see how that sounds. Oops, that sounds terrible. With the pad. No, maybe just bring the pad back in and wait with the ARP for a bit. Take out the toms as well. Kick. Okay, and I don't want everything to come in here at once, so I'm gonna take out the clap and the shaker, bring the toms and hats in, but fade the hats in, and then we can see how this ARP thing sounds. Take this out for another 16 bars, bring the shaker and claps in. Moving along here now, quite quickly, leaving this melody out, bringing in the second one. Loud, I think. Just not mixing at this point, but I'm just, if anything is completely out of where it should be, I do some slight adjustments. I'm gonna let this play for another 16 bars before I take the ARP out here again. I have to remove some stuff here. I'm gonna take the toms out, How does it sound if I take the bass line out? Yeah, can do that. And the hats and the shaker after here, when we bring the bass line in here again. You can already hear that this needs a couple more bars to finish. Copying this by marking them and hitting Command D. And this will probably play to the end, or at least over here. Taking this out now. That one's finished. I'm gonna add this will have to be extended as well. What I hear now is that this one needs to, I need to turn on the filter envelope on this one. Just gonna open this by hitting this little arrow here, and then hit configure, and just click the mouse on this envelope amount encoder up here. Then I can close this up. And if I hit A now, I will get my automation lanes up, and I can automate this envelope amount if I click on it. So again, working pretty quickly here now, not trying to get this perfect, but I can hear that I want this to sort of the sound to close up a bit as the song runs towards the end. It's a bit loud as well. Here as well. Just let the hats run. And the toms and the bass can finish here. I want these hats to fade out, so I'm just going to hit F again and drag this over. So that wasn't enough, I think. Okay, that's it for now. This isn't by any stretch a finished song, but it's something I can export, put it into my system, and leave alone for a while, and then come back to in say something like a week or something, and listen to it. By then I've managed to put a bit more distance between me and this track, and I can hopefully judge it a bit more objectively, because the problem with sitting in these long sessions is that you can't hear anything after a while. You're so into your loops and your tunes, so it's really hard to judge it with any sort of objectivity or perspective. So I find it key to just leave stuff alone for a bit and then come back and listen to it again. So yeah, we have a 5 minute and 40 second long track. I can already hear that it probably needs some more elements before it's a finished song. In particular, I think I probably need some sort of new element in the second part of the song. But that is something I don't want to do at this point. This is good enough for now, and I'll return and make those decisions at a later point. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.